Alright guys, we're going to talk about Season 5, Episode 15 of the Twilight Zone. And what'd you think about this episode?
I didn't like this episode.
Yes.
I didn't love this episode. I fell asleep in the middle.
Okay.
And
had to suffer through it a second time?
So, like, you know when you fall asleep, but then you wake up and you think, like, you didn't miss anything, or, like, you didn't fall asleep,
my eyes
or
just
whatever.
closed for a second, then I caught it. That's a long blink.
I was still hearing it. I just didn't see it. And then I got to the end, and I'm like, what? And I watched it again. It, like, barely helped at all, and I'm like, I hate this episode so much.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this episode. Mostly because, so the plot of the episode is there's a spaceman who is for the first time going to be venturing as far as spacemen can go with new technology. You know, they're gonna cryogenically freeze him essentially and send him out so that he won't age, and he'll get back 40 years later. But the world will have changed, but he has not. He falls in love instantly with some new like scientist girl.
In between getting the mission and departing on the mission, he falls in love with a lady scientist, lady. Astronaut scientist.
Lady Godiva.
Oh.
So he falls in love and he gets sent away on this mission, even though now he's in love and it's such a pain. And when he gets back, she's gonna be old, but he'll still love her, he says. And then it's like that story of like, I cut my hair to buy you some bullshit.
My God.
You sold your bullshit to buy me some bullshit. Got what, chains and watches and hair and braid clip or whatever.
My note says it's basically Romeo and Juliet, or more specifically, the story where the lady sells her hair and the guy sells his horn. Tragic, like swapping, right? I wrote that exact thing down because that's all this is.
Horn? I always thought it was a watch and a chain for a pocket watch.
Oh, maybe.
What did she get him if it was a horn?
Like a
case?
Like a new reed or a new like thing to fix his instrument, but he sold his instrument for hair clips, and she sold her hair because you can sell hair, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
so
well, you can do that now, so I imagine you can do it then.
No one's buying my hair, okay?
Well, it's not long enough now, but back in the day.
No, so like that's, you know, a very classic ancient story that has been told and retold. They've joked about it, Futurama. That's usually my like litmus test for is this like played out. Is like has Futurama dedicated like a little thing to it, and they've done that you know at least once. So I might have heard a version where the guy was like a saxophone player, but it was a watch originally, or it was something else originally. It was a donkey cart thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
A caveman thing or something like that.
I sold my ass to get you off.
Yeah, I kept selling my ass. No, like, but that's the point. That's all this is. You can dress it up in like space stuff.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. Okay, because now I feel like you, because I was like, logic, like why don't they just freeze him now, and then 40 years later she can come back Petty Carter style, and they can just be old together now. Why don't they just do that?
Sure, or the whole thing that he said, I will love you when you're old, maybe she could love him when he's old. This is the true test of are you actually in love or not?
Yeah.
And like, while he was going to take her for all his flaws and let himself age alone in a fucking box, he suffered the ultimate torture for this woman.
Yeah.
And she can't even love him because he's old? It ends so abruptly. It's like, nope, you're old, fuck off. And like,
no, well, he tells her to go. He's
yes,
like,
but she didn't fight for it at all, which means that's not love.
She was like, no, we can do this. And he's like, no, we can't. And because he's the man, and it's 1962, she's like, fine, and like leaves or whatever. And then like the other guy's like, I never seen a man as awesome as you, dude. And I'm like, what is going on here? This is awful. Yeah, it's awful. It's basically awful.
Actually terrible.
Yeah.
I can't, like, so like, but then there's because I'm a bastard. The things that bother me about the episode is he was set on a mission where he'll be cryogenically frozen for 40 years. There's no ability to live. There's no food on this ship. It's not meant for him to be there. There's not 40 years worth of air. There's nothing. Yeah. It's a little fucking pillbox.
And he's
like,
what? And like, unbeknownst to us, he like took himself out of sleep or whatever, right? And you're like, well, then he
after a month or something they say.
After like within the first year, he like woke himself
up. Shouldn't he just be dead within the next week? Like
you would think, yes. So they chose to like, you know, ignore that or like put it aside because the message was strong enough. The message of like, oh, he couldn't even radio back because they'd be like, what are you doing out of your sleep pod? And he'd be like, I gotta maintain radio silence and just meditate
once though he
waiting
was
for
out
her
of the pod, there's nothing NASA could do. He could easily have talked to them all the time. What are they gonna be like? Come back. No.
Nope. Put yourself back to sleep. That's a double no. That's a negative, Chief. I'm in love.
He could have talked to the one he loves every day.
Yeah. He could have heard that, well, you can't talk to her because she's in cryo sleep or whatever.
Oh, like, let me refreeze myself.
Well, because like I don't know how he willed himself out of cryo sleep. I don't know how all these things work on, you know, in this world.
They don't.
There's a lot of things going on. That's what I mean. Like you're just dressing up this super old, like, you know,
I could see like once a year it pops you out to do a little maintenance check. Be like, okay, is everything good? Okay, all right.
It's like,
back in the sleep.
Return to sleep, and he's just like, didn't hear that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like you're dressing up. I almost said limerick. This old like anecdote, this old little chestnut of a story with space to like retell it, and you're doing it in this like ugly
story
way.
That you made into a 2-page story.
This weird thing that you say. Yeah, I don't think dressing it up helps it. The old man makeup, he looked like Uncle Dracula from Gremlins 2. He looked horrible. Like everything was bad about this episode, basically. I don't know, Grandpa Dracula. But the whole thing, I'm like, what are we doing here? And there was no even like performance. Like I fell asleep during those long like voiceovers. To love and to dream. My mind swam in a sea of despair, like this long things, and I'm like, what is this horrible poetry you're like reading to me now?
At a moment, it looked like he was actually frozen in a block of ice. That thing, and I was like, wait a minute, what am I seeing here?
Because his feet are like not touching the bottom.
And the way it looked, like from another angle, as like it was in, I'm like, wait a minute, is he thawing? Is part of his face out of the ice?
Is it
what
melting?
am I looking at here?
Yeah.
But that was just like a trick of the eye. It wasn't actually what's happening.
They kind of made it look like a big weird, like block of ice.
He was in the same almost glass chamber as the ones that froze themselves after the robbery.
As those criminals that did the thing. Yeah, basically.
But it had ill-fitting glass top. Let me freeze myself.
But that like filled with like hibernate gas or something like that. Yeah. This though did look solid. It had weird wear or like erosion marks around the outside, so it kind of looked like it was a thing. I had the same thought where I'm like, I know it can't be a big block of ice, but I think that they want me to identify it as like, oh, he's frozen or something like that, right? Like it's so dumb. Oh. Yeah, this is
not a good episode.
No, there's nothing to save me here.
And it's like you almost just fully expect everything as it's happening because it's like a tale will hold its time type of thing. And like sometimes those like it's like, oh cool, you put a new spin on that awesome thing, but it's really just the same thing, just updated. There's not really like cool. Like, oh, we added a twist or a spin, or like, oh, this that thing, and then we subvert your expectation by doing this. You're like, and I was like, eh.
Well, they didn't, because they had to make it like a crazy reveal. You don't see how or why she like froze herself. Because can you just do that? Can anyone just do that? How did she like apply to be frozen?
Wouldn't a lot of people want to do that?
Did I like miss something?
Is it like, you know, if they...
That's why I had to go back to rewatch it. I'm like, did I miss something? Like, how did he get out of it and how did she get into it?
Probably helped invent this technology. Yeah. She's a NASA pioneer of this super distance mission. I did like how they phrased... Like, oh, technology let us see this 5 years later. He didn't actually have to go at all.
Yeah, he's like, that's the irony. His whole thing was worthless, too. Yeah. That's meant to just, like, further, like pummel you with this, like,
you lost your entire life for science that we fucking didn't even need.
That's how science works.
Chump. Yeah.
There you go. I have nothing else.
No, that's the...
There's nothing else
episode.
Here.
It's not the best. It isn't the worst Twilight Zone episode. I'd certainly prefer to watch a different one, though. Like, I could never watch this one again and get any sort of enjoyment.
Yeah, like, was this the worst? I might. This is
not the worst.
This is the kind of thing where I'm like, I'm sure this can't be the worst, but I'm having trouble thinking of one that I disliked more than this.
Oh, the guy who's like, oh, we stole land in Africa and lion sounds are chasing me through the city. That one.
And the cinematography was better in that one.
Well, yes, but.
Like, I'm saying, like, if I have to rank them, I can't, off the top of my head, think of one that I would, like, rank below this one, at this point.
How about the
I'm sure you can think of
How
something.
about the slot machine that's like, oh, it's haunting him, it's like, actually coming after him?
Or it's in the hotel and beep, boop, bop, bop. That made me laugh. so that
one wins
That's got
because
something
of that?
going for it. I have to think. Ugh. I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah, all right, guys, that's this episode of Twilight Zone. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, internets. I just love watching JustDaggers. If you've enjoyed this video as much as I have, click that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.